kick back if you have any questions. We'll get to that. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoys some football this weekend. We got Ryan saying thumbs down to Beamer, but Silverfield question mark. Yeah, like I just touched on. I think out of those G5 names, honestly, in my personal opinion, this is just straight, like I'll tell you when things are coming from someone else. It's just my personal opinion and also of what I've heard in different people I've talked to. John Sumrall at Tulane would be my by far number one G5 head coaching candidate for any position if I'm in that position to make a hire. Do I think he's viable for Virginia Tech? No, I think he's going to take a bigger job, but it doesn't sound like that. Maybe the groundwork's being laid there. Behind him, I'd probably go to Alex Golish. And for the longest time, I was the highest on Alex Golish. Talked to some different people and personnel just kind of across the country, just got gauge feedback. Didn't know if he'd be exactly the best fit. But what is fit? You can always try and make the hire for fit. Obviously, he's won a lot of places he's been. So I don't know how much you put behind that. And then Silverfield, yeah. I just think you're going to have that fatigue of hiring a Memphis head coach. Obviously, went down with Fuente, but Silverfield's done an amazing job. Now, they had the NIL package, obviously, and everything going on with Memphis, but they've done an incredible job in the American. I think that Memphis versus USF game is going to be really big for both those head coaches, for the American Athletic Conference race, and for the college football playoff. So that'll be a really good one to watch. But, yeah, I think Silverfield's a very valuable candidate. Who's leading in the coaching hot board? If I had to say right now, like I just signed the touch on right there, just briefly, I think Shane Beamer. He's facing down a really, really tough stretch. There's obviously the ties, and I know it's tough when he's obviously still employed by someone else, and there's a lot to shake out, but it's just the smoke around his name. It's October 15th. There's some intel behind that. There's some just feel. I feel like that's probably a name to very much watch here, along with Alex Golish, along with some different people. But that's one that's going to be pretty hot. Is it done? Just waiting for Thanksgiving weekend. Nothing is done at this point. Nothing is done at this point. A lot can play out. A lot can play out. Now, by Thanksgiving weekend, if you don't have something in place, and I've touched on it a lot, I feel like I've gotten comments and texts from different people saying like, okay, we understand how behind the eight ball we're going to be, but you're going to be in a tough spot just with the timing of everything if you don't have that head coach pretty much in place. Am I surprised there haven't been more portal entries? No, this is kind of what we expected. So 5 guys are officially in: Burgos, Dante Lovett, Christian Ellis, Michael Short, and Tucker Holloway. There's going to be a big exodus at the end of the year. A lot of that is going to depend on the coach that comes in, what scheme, how all that shakes. But no, I'm not surprised because you jump now, and what are you going to do? You can go take visits early, but what's the advantage for a lot of these guys? You don't have film out there. So you got to go try and chase film, see if you can stand out here and stick out and try and make a way here. There's not a lot of advantage for some guys unless obviously you're trying to preserve eligibility with 4 years in redshirt and then just go and try and get a jump start on the rest of the competition ahead of the 2-week window. But no, I'm not exactly surprised because you're still going to see a lot of guys enter in the normal window. Is there a potential coach that will unify the fan base? I don't think so. Every time you're going to make a hire or something, you're going to have part of the fan base that loves it, part of the fan base that hates it, part of the fan base that's totally indifferent, part of the fan base that's so fatigued they don't really care. You're going to have so many takes flying from each different way. There's no, some people are like, this is a can't miss guy. There's never been a universally loved hire, I feel like, just because of social media and what different people are willing to say and just how different things play out. So I don't think there will be one guy that can come in and unify the fan base. I think there are some guys that have the quality and traits to do that, but not initially just off the hire in one day or one press conference is going to get everyone rallied behind them. I think there are some guys that are going to build a lot of hype behind them early. There are some guys that are going to build a lot of hype and then have one group over here maybe a little more stagnant or resistant to that. But I don't know if there's one name that can come and do that. I think there's only one guy who maybe retired down at Alabama that I think any program across the country would come in and probably unify and get behind. But outside of that, you're always going to have detractors or people not feeling like the guy hired is the guy. Yeah, this is the one I laughed at earlier, lively and vibrant over on vtscoop.com. I cannot emphasize enough, and I know social media, YouTube, X, whatever, is a great spot, but, you will never find some of the more witty and just honestly insane takes over on vtscoop.com. Great community over there, great people. Obviously, with the coaching search, always a good time. So can't wait to catch up on that in the car down on the ride to Tuscaloosa tomorrow. Do you think one of the reasons Franklin wouldn't beat that interested is due to how the price situation played out? Yeah, I think that's a big factor that a lot of people are overlooking. Obviously, James Franklin and Brent Pry have a great relationship. He was on staff there for many years. Obviously, reached out to him for advice. I don't think Pry was done wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. There's not one thing where you can point to and it's like he was given a raw deal. But that does linger in the back of your head. That is definitely playing an aspect to it. I don't think that will be the deciding aspect if that's what it comes down to, but I don't think that will be the decisive thing. So you always weigh all these things into decisions, but I don't foresee James Franklin picking Virginia Tech over the available options he's going to have. Please don't say Mark Stoops is high on the board. That is a name that's been brought up. I know Message Board Genius caught wind of that today. Great for your press for VT Scoop, and obviously caused a stir on social media and just in general. Obviously what he's done at Kentucky, and people are comparing him and Shane and, the buyout situation and just everything. I don't really foresee that as one of the most serious candidates. I know it really has riled the fan base and got them feeling some type of way, but I don't see much going with that. Did you say Cocktober? Yes. Cocktober, Gamecocks. If you look at his stats in October and then November, I don't know what they're calling it, October. But anything crazy can happen there in Willie B. So what's the minimum number for Shane? He's probably going to come here. If he were to come here, it would probably be on a little bit of a raise from what he got at South Carolina, but it sounds like South Carolina, however that shakes out, so much is still to play. Like, this is all theoretical. I feel like you can get so lost in it. The number that they've been throwing out there that they're willing to go to. It's going to be in that probably 8 to 10 range, somewhere in there. So it's going to be a pretty penny, but I wouldn't see like a massive jump like you maybe see with some of these other coaches. We should have already contacted James Franklin. Would be a home run hire. Well, you can reach out. Just because you reach out early doesn't mean you're going to make a decision early. The committee just started meeting last week, so you can send out feelers to agents early on. But it's not just something where you jump in really quick. A lot of people reach out early or you touch base pretty early on, but there's so much to play out. You can't really make that call on October 15th unless you have the job waiting. And I don't think Virginia Tech was a job he was waiting on. Are you considering Kentucky a better job than VT? Hasn't the flow of resources made us much more attractive? Yeah, it's a great infusion of money, but that's going to come a lot of other places. And Virginia Tech was so far behind the eight ball. That's what, when you see we're on the cutting edge, on the bleeding edge. Yes, the budget is great. It's a big improvement, but there's going to be those incremental increases across the board, pretty much at the Power 4 level. So will it get some more at the dance floor? It still matters that patch on your chest. And Kentucky and South Carolina are both playing with that Southeastern Conference logo on their chest. And that's something Virginia Tech would change places with in a heartbeat. Because when, the realignment music stops and we're all playing musical chairs and it stops and Virginia Tech's left out, Kentucky automatically becomes a lot more attractive because they're in the party and Virginia Tech could not be. Now I'm saying that's years down the line, but that's kind of what this coaching search has resting on it. Are you going to be in the big time of college football? Or are you going to be left out? No pressure for the committee. No pressure for those 8 people or anything for the university. Burris Hall, obviously the university president and all that, because that won't affect enrollment, applications. I don't know. It's going to be very big for a lot of these institutions in the Big 12 and the ACC, and obviously the Pac-12 that's already sort of got left behind. It's going to be a really, really big time. So while Virginia Tech may be better positioned in the ACC currently with how the college football players is set up, just wait until they change that. And then the SEC gets more bids as a league and they get more favor in the strength of record and different things. So right now, yes, it's easier to win and compete maybe in the ACC. And if this budget goes through, it could be, but you have to be in that when the music stops of realignment. Just my take. Mainly in reference to Sumrall will get a better job, and he's likely. I know there's a Kentucky connection there with him, but I could totally see that happening. There's a Kentucky connection there with him, obviously coach there, but Florida's coming open or alleged. Potentially Florida comes open. Potentially some other big-time SEC jobs could come open. There's still a lot to shake out. I think his name is going to be very high on a lot of those jobs. So I think Kentucky will always be there, but I think there are going to be some more high profile jobs, and he's going to be pretty high on their list. At least that's my take on it. So was the reason for the NDA mainly because there was too much conflicting information coming out from the committee, or is there more to it than that? I mean, there's always more to it than everything with these things, but I think the biggest thing was obviously too much conflicting info. When you had Arians come out and say one thing, Eddie come out and say one thing, different things coming out from different people, and you kind of want to control the narrative, and by controlling the narrative, really putting no narrative out there until you're ready to make your call. So I think that's pretty much it. And the way they've kind of stepped in it hasn't excited the fan base. But you got to think, like, the people who watch this show, the people that are kind of taking this in, or maybe that 10% that they're kind of overlooking. It's like, well, 90% when the graphic comes out that this is the coach, that's going to be the first time they even think about it since the ODU game when Pry was fired. There's only but so many people who are so invested in it, they just go to Lane Stadium on a Saturday or whatever and keep up with it that way. So there's two different thinkings of it. If you're in that very, very 10%, intense percent, I guess, or not. And, you're just kind of waiting to let them flow the information out themselves, which, if they want to keep it in-house, they're totally right to do that. But, there is frustration among candidate pool, different people with that process and the way it was already rolled out. So we will see. For this week, though, we're going to, at least for me, I'm going to be heading down to watch the third Saturday in October down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, here on fall break. Okay, one last question. Out of the coaches mentioned, who are your top three? Not sure I've heard you mention that. Top three, realistically, out of the top three of the group, I would take Sumrall. I would take, obviously, James Franklin. And I'm going to give you five. Dan Mullen, Beamer, and Golish. I think Franklin's obviously the top of that. And obviously, I heard a lot of really great things about Sumrall from different people in the industry. And then those three all can kind of shake. It's just what's realistic and what, because, you can have a top three, but do you realistically see it in Virginia Tech's perspective for the committee? So that's sort of my take on it. But yeah, like I said, that's going to be the show for tonight. Appreciate everyone jumping in here. A little patchwork last put together, late minute show for fall break. Enjoy the bye week this weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy some college football. And we'll be right back here next Monday at 8:30. No show on Saturday, no game on Saturday. So we'll be back here Monday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video. Please share it with a friend if you found anything insightful about Virginia Tech football and just college football in general. It's been a ton of fun getting this going. So yeah, enjoy it and have a great one. See you next time.